The box here gives you the gender and number of whose. If we reference the noun, which is pantofi, and we don't want to say pantofi anymore, we say just I may. But don't worry, for the genitive particle, I've got you covered. I will show you a trick at the end of this video so you can remember it more easily. Am ajuns aproape de finalul călătoriei, de vârful muntelui, de capătul drumului. Al cui? Al meu. Nu, voi fi aici pe YouTube încă o perioadă care nu știu încă cât de lungă va fi, dar sigur veți primi explicații despre limba și cultura română. Nu știu dacă ați observat, dar am folosit deja subiectul conversației de astăzi, anume pronumele posesive sau pronumele în genitiv, or the genitive pronoun, which are not the same as the genitive adjectives, a topic we covered here. Pronumele în genitiv sunt neașteptat de ușoare. Ok, poate e mai dificil să folosești particula genitivă. Acesta este un subiect de B1. Trebuie să treci deja peste nivelul de începător ca să aibă sens ce vorbim aici. But don't worry, for the genitive particle, I've got you covered. I will show you a trick at the end of this video so you can remember it more easily. Don't forget to show the appreciation to the unique work we do here at the Romanian Academy. And I say unique because nobody on YouTube does what we do, helping you think and speak Romanian with materials, classes, and a whole community on Discord. So please consider liking this video or subscribing to the channel, or both, if you appreciate our work. Gracias. Alright, let's go to the pronouns. The pronouns, a quick recap of what they are. As you can see here on the screen, they are words that reference someone or something already mentioned. So the words that reference something in the first sentence here, îmi place să cumpăr roșii din piață, the word that references roșii in the second sentence, ele trebuie să fie coapte. So ele references roșii. So that's a pronoun. Yeah? This is a very specific example. It's very easy to see it. However, sometimes, as it is with genitive pronouns, it's not easy to notice they are actually pronouns. In English, you have ele, which is they, and it's basically the same. But wait a second to see what's with the genitive pronouns. Right. And don't forget that in genitive, what happens overall in this case is that you get two things that are shown on the screen, right? Don't forget those two things. One, genitive shows the possessor in a relationship. Also in a relationship, basically in relationship to whom something is or someone is. So bear these two things in mind, and we basically drew that over and over again in this series. If you haven't been here, we can show you again this little diagram on the right, where the pronouns describe the possessor. That's what we said a second ago. This is the possessor and this is the possession. So the genitive will be this. The pronoun in genitive will be this on the right. So in English, these would be mine, yours, his. I underlined here the S because most of them, if you remember the next ones, from English, hers, ours, yours, theirs, all of them have an S apart from mine. I do wonder why English wanted to be special with this one too. And this is what we will learn today, how to use the mine, yours, his, hers, and so on, but in Romanian, because they do depend on a couple of things. Let's do that. If we think a bit of the logic from the previous videos, we have the possession on the left, as we have already talked about, and the possessor on the right. John's box. Yeah, so John owns a box. In English we say John's box. Easy peasy, yeah? So if we would ask the question to determine the possessor, yeah, whose is that box? Whose is that box? It is John's. Boom. we answer with John's. Or using these pronouns from English, yeah, it's his. It is his. If you followed easily until now, you will have absolutely no problem in this video. If you, however, have some struggles, maybe rewatch this quick intro, because we will need it. We will need this theory for the next part. So in order to understand these genitive pronouns in Romanian, you'll need to first learn these genitive particles, something that you might have seen or not, I don't know. They are very I would like to say they are very meaningless, but they are very important because they kind of make the difference between the genitive adjectives and the genitive pronouns, something you'll see in a second. And not only that, but they are useful in some other situations for the Romanian grammar too. So it would be really good for you to learn the 4 of them. As always, you can see here that what's under masculine singular is also under neuter singular, and what's under feminine plural, it's under neuter plural. Al, a, I, ale. Right? These are the 4. Al, a, I, ale. Very easy to remember, as you might have been used already from other agreeing grammar terms like nouns and articles and adjectives. Some people call these genitive particles definite articles in genitive, but that's actually not right. But what I was going to say is that if you're familiar to all these agreeing things in Romanian, in gender and number, then you should be familiar with this as well, because al is the L from masculine singular, I is the feminine singular. The I here, and I mean the letter I, the E in Romanian, is common for the masculine plural, and le or e for feminine plural. So they should be quite easy to remember, only 4 words, very short. Now, to actually be able to put this genitive pronoun into context, you'll need to learn the question whose, which we have shown here in English. You have the question whose is that box to determine the possessor. We said earlier that the pronouns who describe a possessor are the possessive pronouns. So hopefully everything is kind of coming into a place, and it starts to make sense, because while you ask the question whose, which in Romanian is quite straightforward, al, I, ale, plus cui, so al cui, a cui, ale cui, I cui, yeah? When you ask this question, if you look back at the example from English here, whose is that box, you will always have in the sentence with the question word whose. So it will be whose is something. And that something is extremely important because it will give you the gender and number of the particle. I'll say that again. The box here gives you the gender and number of whose. So what does that mean in practice? In practice, if we have whose este cutia, if you have este cutia, yeah, and you want to ask the question whose, you look at cutia, it ends in an a cui. And that's the question, whose in Romanian. A cui este cutia, al cui este pixul, ai cui sunt ochelarii, ale cui sunt cărțile. Now, to get the actual genitive pronoun, you need the particle al, a, I, ale, and then the correct possessive pronoun. Now, what's really interesting is that from all these possessive pronouns, for third person singular, you don't need this. You can say also and asa, but that's actually not right. So we'll just focus on lui, ei, and lor. Al dumneavoastră works, that's fine, you can use that. So it's al, a, I, ale, plus meu, so al meu, a mea, ai mei, ale mele. Did you see what I just did there? I said al meu, a mea, ai mei, ale mele. So al mea doesn't exist. And you might wonder why. Well, that's exactly what we're gonna do next. Now, don't forget that all of this and what's coming next, which are 6 big tables, are gonna all be in the PDF on the Patreon page, link in the description and in the comment. And also you'll get exercises, and also you'll get a class, all coming on Patreon with this video. So if you're interested, join the Patreon channel. This is all under B1. This is a B1 topic. Also, you have the all levels membership if you want to get access to everything from A1 to C1. So I'll see you there on Patreon, also for the class. Let's go to the first table. We're looking at the genitive pronouns in masculine, which for all these tables, they will be displayed under the third column here. So now we're talking about the masculine singular. What does that mean? Remember back to the box here, whose is that box, yeah? We're talking about this element of the question, whose is that box? If that item is masculine singular, so like este pantoful meu, este pantoful tău, este pantoful lui ei, este pantoful nostru, este pantoful vostru, este pantoful lor. If we're talking about a pantof which is in singular masculine, even though if you would be, well, we'll talk about neuter actually in a second. We will get the question al cui este pantoful, and the answer will be este al meu, it is mine. So here mine is al meu. Then al cui este pantoful, este al tău, it's yours. Yeah, this will be yours. And the same for the next ones. Yeah, you have the translation in English as well, and it will apply for the plural too. Because if we had shoes, we would ask the question ai cui. Yeah, we would ask the question ai cui. Don't forget the I is for masculine plural. Ai cui sunt pantofi, the answer would be sunt pantofi mei. Or if we reference, don't forget how we started this conversation today. If we reference the noun, which is pantofi, and we don't want to say pantofi anymore, we say just ai mei or ai tăi. And that's enough. And that's exactly how it works for masculine as well. You see that you change from meu and tău, which was back here the masculine singular. So back here this used to be the masculine singular all the way down. Yeah? Meu, tău, ei, nostru, and so on. Then for masculine plural, you'll get I plus all the masculine plural from here. And then we will move to feminine singular. Feminine singular, don't forget, needs an A. A cui este grădina. A cui este cutia. Este grădina mea or este a mea. It is my garden, it is mine. Este grădina ta, este grădina noastră, este a noastră, este a mea. You look back here and you have the feminine singular, the second column. And for feminine plural, you had ale. Sunt grădinile mele, ale cui sunt grădinile, ale cui sunt cutiile, sunt grădinile mele, sunt cutiile noastre, sunt cutiile lor, or sunt ale mele, ale tale, ale lor. Mele, don't forget, tale, all go under the fourth column here in this table, where this table shows the adjectives, the possessive or the genitive adjectives. So we had for masculine singular al, for masculine plural I, for feminine singular a, for feminine plural ale. The particles we learned here. And finally the neuter. If you remember, the neuter takes the singular from masculine, este telefonul meu, so al cui este telefonul este al meu, al cui este telefonul este al nostru, al vostru, al lor, al lui, al ei, al tău. And then for plural, the feminine. Ale. Ale cui sunt telefoanele? Sunt ale mele. Ale cui sunt telefoanele? Sunt ale voastre. Sunt telefoanele voastre. Yeah, that's straightforward neuter. I hope this wasn't too much, but if it was, I will just summarize all of it in a second, which is basically here. Mine, as we talked about, can have 4 forms. Yeah, mine. It depends on what the possession is. If I'm talking about that can of tuna is mine, can is conservă, it's feminine, it would be a mea. If I'm talking about the board game, which is singular neuter, joc de masă, it would be al meu. If I'm talking about the sunglasses, it will be ochelari de soare, it will be plural masculine, ochelari, so ai mei. If I'm talking about the cats that are all around the house, pisici, plural feminine, ale mele. And it will be the same for yours, and it will be the same for yours, for his, for hers, for ours, yours, and for theirs, right? 4 forms for each. Now let's have a look at the examples of how to actually use it. Apart from the obvious answer on the question whose is something, and then you say caietul este al meu, cartea este a mea, proiectele sunt ale mele, ochelarii sunt ai mei, yeah? So after a fi, basically, it can be past tense, it can be future, it can be any tense. This would be the first example. In the second example, it would be the subject. This is something that is quite interesting, the way it's used in Romanian, because in English it sounds a bit weird. Something like mine, I don't know where they are. Well, in Romanian you can say that. Ai mei, and you reference to the ochelari, yeah? The sunglasses, but you don't want to repeat the word sunglasses because it's already been said. Mine, I don't know where they are. Ai mei nu știu unde sunt. A mea, cartea, este acolo. A question as well. De ce nu sunt aici ale mele? And you reference the pencils. Why are mine not here? And is the subject. Al meu, and I reference the dog. Al meu stă lângă copac. So when we talk about direct objects, usually using pe, because that's how it works with pronouns. In accusative, I mean, you should be able to use this if you're here, I suppose, right? Nu-i găsesc pe ai mei, I cannot find mine, I don't find mine, the vision glasses, whatever, I use ai mei, I cannot find mine, yeah, that kind of meaning. L-ai văzut pe al meu, I reference to the phone. Nu știi de unde, they should have a de here, excuse the PowerPoint skills. Nu știi de unde l-am cumpărat pe al meu, do you know, you don't remember or you don't know where I bought mine from? The wallet, or pe ale mele cărțile, yeah, mine, I don't know where I put them. So this can also be possible to be used, and I encourage you to try to use them as well when you talk about either a possession, or even it can work with people as well. A mea, when you reference usually to parents or kids, but we'll talk more about that in the exercises because that can be misused and in the class on Patreon. And finally, the tip that I promised you, here you go. In case you didn't notice already, the particle, the noun, and the pronoun or the adjective, they match. They match because the endings are similar. A for feminine singular, E for masculine plural. We saw these examples earlier. Nu știu unde l-am cumpărat pe al meu, yeah, this also matches, but here with the masculine singular and neuter singular, there is a little bit of a difference because meu doesn't end in L. That's something that's a little bit different, yeah, compared to the others, because for example here le and le, it's always the same, but with the masculine singular you will get quite frequently a u, yeah, the meu, it's always meu, and you can think about it, remember this u that you most of the time get for the article. It's another particle, not the genitive particle that we talked about today. It's not the same as this, but it's also called the particle. And I do talk about it quite a lot in the previous 2 videos here on YouTube. Poate vă întrebați de ce am făcut un video special pentru acest subiect. Ei bine, veți vedea în videoul următor, unde vom acoperi cele mai complicate structuri în genitiv. Structuri posesive. Numiți-le cum doriți. Sunt structuri speciale ale acestui caz. Și exact despre asta vom vorbi în videoul următor, când vom termina această serie despre genitiv. Vă mulțumesc și ne auzim data viitoare. La revedere!